On your way to work.
Tomorrow morning, starting at 4:30 a.m. on TV 11.
From coastal areas to war zones, Lutheran World Relief is on ground zero, helping families rebuild their lives. Joining us today is Ambassador Daniel Speckhard, President and CEO of Lutheran World Relief. We want to welcome you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Sarah.
You've had some remarkable experiences, have you not?
Yes, I've been fortunate enough to work for the government for 30 years before coming to the NGO sector, and lived all over the world in some interesting places like Iraq and Belarus and Greece and Brussels. So, interesting career.
And it sounds like it's pretty all-encompassing when it comes to the relief that you provide. Give us an idea of what it is that you do.
Well, Lutheran World Relief has been around since 1945, and we started to help refugees after World War II in Europe. But over the years, we're now working in 35 countries in Latin America, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. And what we're focusing on is helping really the poorest of the poor. Places where most people aren't paying attention to in the news, but where there's real human suffering and real instability as a result because of people can't feed their families.
What are some of the most memorable experiences that you've had? What area do you feel touched you the most?
Well, you know, it's hard to say because the world is such an interesting place and so diverse, but maybe just tell you recently about some trips I've had to Central America because it's been in the news. You know, imagine what it must take if you have children or nephews and nieces to be willing to send them, put them in the hands of strangers and send them 1,000 miles because you feel that your situation has become so terrible that you can't provide for those kids anymore. And that's what's happening in Central America. And it's happening because they've had food insecurity there after 2 years of drought and irregular rainfall. The situation for the rural poor, where most of the people still have their livelihoods, has gotten so desperate. And so for us, I was able to travel down there and see the programs that we have that are working in these rural communities to help farmers manage their crops better, diversify their crops to be more resilient to the drought and weather patterns, to be able to manage the water and collect rainfall and use it on their farms in ways that allow their families to stay put and provide food for their children.
Which means you have to be well versed in climate change and perhaps the impact it's having. What's your stance on that?
Well, it's really interesting. You know, I think most people, regardless of what you think about the sources, the weather patterns are changing. And that's having especially a difficult impact on the poorest of the poor. For most of us who live in our air-conditioned homes, have our cars, and manage our lives in studios like this, it's not that impactful. But if you are the world's poorest, 80% rely on the agricultural sector. And the agricultural sector is very dependent on those weather patterns. So if it's near the equator, where you have droughts happening every year instead of every 10 years, or if it's in Nepal, where the glacier is melting and it's causing flooding and erosion and problems for the people there, the poorest are the hardest hit. And so for what we see at the grassroots level is these changing weather patterns are really devastating on the poor.
Do you ever go into places like Syria or Saudi Arabia? And if so, what's your contribution there?
Well, we are helping out in Syria. We provided over $1 million primarily in relief to refugees and displaced people at the border with Turkey. We work with our partners here in Baltimore on that. For instance, International Orthodox Christian Charities is a Baltimore-based NGO, and they are connected to the Orthodox Christian in Syria. So we're providing help with their support to people that have been really affected there.
Okay. Can anybody get involved in the relief effort?
Absolutely. Would encourage people to go see our website at LWR.org, but there's a lot of different ways you can get involved. You can start by a cash donation, is always very effective in helping really poor people, but you can also get involved in other ways by putting together personal care kits, baby kits, quilts and blanket kits. We had just a group at North Bay recently of middle schoolers who came together for a day and put together 300 kits that'll be sent somewhere in the world where people really need them. You can also, if you have a sweet tooth and like chocolate, or if you like your coffee, go on our website and order fair trade coffee or cocoa, and next time you eat a chocolate bar you can feel good about helping some small farmers. And last, we have a website called kindsight.org, which is kind of interesting. It's for the young people, teenagers who are worried about community services so they can help build their resume for college, or millennials who just care about poor people around the world. If you want to create that next ice bucket challenge, go to Kindsight, and you can help be a social ambassador and create cool things to help poor people.
Fantastic. There's so many ways to help, and obviously you can do it from the very young age to much
Yes.
older, so that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
We thank you for your time and for the information. Hopefully people will reach out and help.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. Don't go away. You're watching 11 TV Hill.